So here we are with our first pictorial for the California Gold Rush, and we're looking here at the United States because we have to understand what was happening in other parts within the continent. A quick review that Mexico won independence in 1823. So the country of Mexico was bigger than present-day Mexico, is this part here. But at this point in history, in 1823, the parts of Texas and New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, and parts of California were all part of Mexico at that point. And the United States of America, they got independence. Well, let me write down that Mexico got their independence in 1823. And before that, the United States of America got their independence in 1776. 1776, that's a little bit neater. And in this middle portion here, Spain used to control that middle portion. But then Spain, way back in Europe, and France, two countries, they became allies, and Spain ended up doing something called a secession. They ceded, with a C, or they gave control of this Louisiana territory to the country of France. Now, the United States of America at this time was really concerned because they were starting to move westward. So again, remembering our compass rose, where we have north and south, east and west. So the United States of America was starting to move westward across the continent. And they got to this big river right here, which is called the Mississippi River. So let me go ahead and label that. Mississippi, Mississippi, the Mississippi River. So they got to the Mississippi River, which is the largest river in the United States, and they wanted to go across it, and they wanted to continue on, okay? So in 1803, the President of the United States at that time, a man by the name of Thomas Jefferson, he sent Robert Livingston to go buy the Louisiana Territory from France. So let's just kind of update here. In 1801, Spain ceded or gave the land to France. Ceded or gave the land to France. I'm going to change markers. This one's getting a little dried out. Then the U.S. was concerned. USA was concerned because they were moving west and across the Mississippi. They were concerned because they were moving west across the Mississippi River. I'm going to change colors so that you can remember how I labeled this. Mississippi River. So when Livingston went and met with France in 1803, he managed to work out a deal with the country of France so that the USA bought or paid money the land from France. And this is where you're getting like a little sneak peek here, a little sneak peek into some fifth grade social studies. This started something called Manifest Destiny. So next year, if most of you will have Mr. Saliber, you can tell Mr. Saliber, hey, I heard about Manifest Destiny in fourth grade. Manifest Destiny, which allowed the United States of America to move west. So they're moving west, again, following our compass rose. Some really, really interesting things happening here. So what happened afterwards with Manifest Destiny was it started this whole new wave of explorers from the United States of America. One of the explorers that happened right away was in 1804. In 1804, the United States of America asked two people. One's last name is Lewis, and the other one is Clark. And they were given the task of exploring the Louisiana Purchase territory. So before I go into that, though, I do need to kind of show you some important land features here within the middle portion of North America. So you see I've got a lake over here. This is Lake Tahoe right there. That's Lake Tahoe. So I'm going to label that. But there is a larger lake east of Lake Tahoe. It's somewhere right about here. It's the Great Salt Lake. So this is Salt Lake, the Great Salt Lake. And then some other important things is just on the other side of the Mississippi, right about here, is an important city, and the name of that city is St. Louis. St. Louis is very important because that's where a lot of the United States of America explorations started from St. Louis, and then they would start to move start to move west. Then, of course, we already know some important things. Like right here from our last social studies unit, that's the San Francisco Bay. There's the San Francisco Bay. Just below the San Francisco Bay down here is Monterey. That's pretty important for this part. And then way down here, just before you get to where present day, it's California and Mexico. At this point in time, it's all Mexico. But of course, that's that city where the very first mission was built. It is San Diego. So these are kind of important landmarks for us to have in here. And then one last landmark is down here at the very bottom of the Mississippi River is New Orleans. And New Orleans, this part here is part of France still. We did not get New Orleans as part of the Louisiana Purchase. And you can see that the United States of America at this point is still not that far south. So let me get back to Lewis and Clark now for a second. Lewis and Clark, they were tasked by the government of the United States of America to explore the Louisiana Purchase. So they did. They went to St. Louis, and from St. Louis, they started to kind of travel west and then north. They ended up exploring all along the Northwest Territory. They went even past the Louisiana Purchase into this part of the continent up here, went all the way to the Pacific coast, and then returned back. And this is very significant historically because it opened up something called the Oregon Trail. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and label this the Oregon Trail, and the reason I'm not is the Oregon Trail is really something you're going to learn about in great more detail when you're in 5th grade. But it helps us understand our California history and the California Gold Rush right now. And this is where we're going to end for today, boys and girls. We're right at the end of Lewis and Clark's expedition. The next time we meet, we will talk about some more explorers from the United States of America, as well as some wagon trains and the Mexican-American War. Bye!